Hello soulmate, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video you are going to be learning how to draft and sew a flare trouser. If this video interests you, please subscribe to my channel, like, share and comment as we get started. Welcome back once again to my channel. So the fabric here is a 3-yard fabric, but I'm going to be advising you to make use of a 4-yards fabric. But if you know how to find your way around, you can make use of 3 yards also. But if you are on the big size, 4 yards is advisable. That's the reason why I wrote 4 yards there, because I had some little inconvenience making use of the 3 yards. Remember, it is a flare trouser and the beauty is for it to be very full. So I'm going to be folding all the fabric into 2, as in the whole of my 3 yards. Remember I said I made use of 3 yards. I'll fold it into 2, then I'll now fold it again to form a triangular form, like as if you are trying to cut a flare. Then I am going to be pinning it round so it can be stable. So on the side here, I'm going to be marking 1 inch as sewing allowance. So that 1 inch is what is going to be our side sewing allowance. So at this point, I realized that my markings was not clear. So I had to cut out a pattern paper into the shape of the fold of the fabric I've made earlier. So that's just assume that this is still the same way we folded it, for those that would love to cut this with free hand. So now I'm going to be from the top of the triangular shape, I am going to be marking 1 inch as my sewing allowance. You know the sewing allowance that is always on the side of a trouser. So that's what we are marking on this part. That's the side allowance for the trouser. Then on the second part, I'm going to be marking 3 inches. So this part is for the crouch depth, that crouch curve. But if you are the type that is a plus size for big bum, mark 4 inches. So I mark 3 inches here. But if you are a plus size, mark 4 inches. So that's what I am just trying to do. So I also roll it down to the length of the trouser. So now we have 2 lines here, as you can see. So now you will divide your waist by 4, and you try to locate where the result marks on those 2 points. So the waist by 4, after I divided it, I try to look for where it reaches, and that place automatically is our waist line. This thing is not hard at all. Just try to study it and you'll be able to understand what I'm explaining here. The next thing for us to do is to divide our hip by 4. So I'm going to be dividing the hip by 4. So because this is a flare pant and the beauty for it is to be very free on the body. If you are the small size, you can add 2 inches to whatever you get. But if you're on the plus size, add like 3 inches. So it will be free, because it is a flare pant trouser, so it has to be free. So if you are going to be adding band to it, try to consider that. Like you try to consider that you are going to be adding band. So LADB, you are adding 1.5 inches band. Whatever you get, you are just going to subtract the band from it, then impute the result. I hope you understand my explanation. So you can see what I'm trying to re-emphasize again. So you try to consider your band if the trouser is going to have a band. But this, I'm attaching it to a jumpsuit, so that's why I'm not adding any band. So now I'm going to be marking the length of the trouser also. So as I've said, if it's going to have band, if you are going to be adding band, you subtract the band from the length, so that when you attach the band, it will be in the normal length. So this is me trying to mark the length of the trouser, and you can see I'm taking my time to mark it. Then with my free hand, I'll try to connect the dots together. So if you have any question, try to ask me in the comment section. I will surely answer you. And now I'm going to be cutting everything. So you'll be surprised that is all. No, we are not through yet, because we are going to be doing some little modifications. We're going to be doing 1 or 2 modifications to separate the front from the back. So now I'm going to mark this point. I'll come down from the waistline by 1 inch and I'll connect it straight into my upper waistline. But I'm not going to be cutting it out yet. Remember I said you are going to be cutting the front and back together before we now do some alterations. So now I've folded my fabric into 4. So here I folded the fabric into 4. You know, I told you that 3 yards will not be enough. That's why I have to use this style, so that it can let me have enough fabric to work with. So this is me cutting it round, and I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance on the crouch area and on the inner leg area, as in the inseam area. And I'll try to open the side allowance. So that's what I'm doing. On the lower part, I added 1 inch sewing allowance, and this is me cutting through. So if you notice that there's a shortage on the other side. So I'll try to trim off the unwanted excess. Then I'll now fold another fabric on that side so I can be able to get my full trouser. But if you have enough fabric, you don't need to pass through the stress I am passing through here. So but if you do not have enough fabric like I do, you can also work with this style. So this is just me trying to balance up everything so that the fabric will be enough. Also, the beauty of this kind of style is working with a soft material like crepe, silk material, flower crepe, and so on, so that the design will fall very well. And the beauty of a flare is when it can fall very well. Ankara too will do well for this kind of style. Ankara material will come out very nice on it also. So this is me suggesting nice material that can bring out the beauty of this style out. So now I'm trying to pin out those places, and I have done that now. So I'll separate two for the back, because the back is the major paper we cut out, and it's on the front we're going to be doing those alterations on, as you can see. So I'll try to place my paper back to 2. You remember I said we cut 4 out, so 2 for the front, 2 for the back. So that smile line we marked earlier, I'm trying to trim it off. I'll first trim the paper before I now trim the fabric. So that's what I did. And remember to add your half-inch sewing allowance. And now on the crouch area, so that it can be relaxed on the crouch area, I'll come in by 1 inch. So remember, we used 3 inches for the crouch when we started the jutting. So now I'll come in by 1 inch and blend into the trouser inseam leg. Then this is me trying to cut off any unwanted fabric, and that paper I'll cut the one that I have reduced, and as you can see. So now I'll now transfer it to my fabric. So this way it will relax well. I will show you the end result of this cloth after I finish sewing it, and you understand the reason why we are doing all those alterations. Now the next thing for us to do is to start sewing. So before we start the sewing, I had to attach those extra places I had to cut because of the shortage of my fabric. So now I'll arrange my front pattern together and I'll sew it like so. I'll also do the same thing to the back pattern and back pattern I'll sew together. But remember that on the back pattern there's going to be a zipper. So you are not going to be sewing everything on a running stitch. You sew like at least 7 inches deep on a gather stitch, a stitch that you can still lose later, while the rest will be on a running stitch. And please always sew your trouser crouch twice. I mostly sew mine twice because this way it will make it to last long. And the next thing for me to do is to place the front pattern on the back pattern, and I'm going to be joining it on the sides down. So I'll join it on both sides down using my 1 inch sewing allowance. Now on the inseam area, I'll try to use my pin to connect the front and the back together, pinning it. Please do not underemphasize the importance of pinning. When you pin well, it will help you to be able to sew neatly. And remember, sometimes when you're working with some certain fabrics, pinning will just save you from stress of sewing wrongly. So now this is me trying to pin up everything. I'll pin it down on both sides, then I'll go and sew with my 1/2 inch sewing allowance. And also I've gone ahead to hem the down part. And the next thing for me to do now is, if you have a band you are going to attach, like 1.5 inches or 2 inches band, this is the time for you to fix the band, and afterwards you fix your zip. But I am attaching mine to an upper bodice because it is a jumpsuit I'm making. So now I'll just attach this to the upper bodice and I will fix my zip. And here is the result. You can see how beautiful it looks on my client. You can see how lovely the flare came out. I hope you are going to be recreating something like this soon. Thanks for watching my video. See you in my next one.